Welcome to the Burgundy and Gold Knuckleheads podcast. You know who's with me, winning or losing. My main man Reggie. What's going on, Reg?
What up, Joe? Sound Ken.
Just unfortunately, doing this podcast with a loss. But we can get into it and talk about a lot of different aspects. But we saw some fight in the Burgundy and Gold today. They're playing a NFC leading Philadelphia Eagles, and it was like Washington didn't even remember how they played against the Giants or Atlanta or Chicago. It was a different team pretty much from the first drive. They had their mistakes, otherwise they wouldn't have come out with a win, but looked like a pretty much a different team.
And we just need to play Philly every week, right?
Yeah. Or tell them we're playing Philly.
Yeah, that's good. You tell the team you're playing Philly every week, they seem to prepare differently, and or maybe we just have every team show up in green and white, and maybe our guys will play a little bit different, man. But
watch out, Jets. Week 16, right? I think they're week 16 for us.
Yeah, the Jets got no chance.
Yeah,
we're gonna think they're Philly, but man, we're 3-5, Ken.
Yeah.
And I know Ron and company is gonna tell us there's a lot of football left, we're still in it. But as I said last week, until I see something different, man, I think the jury for me is pretty out on this team, and that just tells me we're not very good. And the fact that this team can play Philly the way they play Philly tells me that we have the ability to be a good team, to put up 31 points on Philadelphia 2 consecutive games, but yet we can't play Chicago. We struggle against Atlanta. We can't beat the Giants. And you can't tell me the Giants defense is any better than Philly did. I mean, I don't understand what it is, but for some reason, when we play the Philadelphia Eagles, we play well, and I don't know what the deal is with it. I'm not trying to figure it out. I don't get paid to figure it out, but the team that we've seen against Philly is who we felt like I think we could be week in and week out, win or lose.
Right.
Win or lose at the end of the day. But the fight, the effort, the success, all of the things that we see when we play Philly, that's what we thought that we'd be as a team week in and week out. So It's a little bit frustrating to see this team play Philadelphia tight, and then we play down to other competitions, or we don't show up against a Buffalo team. Whatever the case, and I know it's people going to say it's the coaching and all that. I think there's a collective effort here, but at the end of the day, man, I for some reason I'm okay with this, man, because I accepted after last week that this team just not good. And was I shocked a little bit the way that they had a chance to win this game? I really was.
Yeah.
But am I down and out about it like I probably would be in weeks past? Nah. In fact, I'm more curious about what's going to happen between now and Tuesday, which we can get into here in a little bit. I was referring to the trade deadline, but I'm more intrigued by that, not about this game.
Yeah, well, I'll as I typically do before a game or either preview or post game, I go over a few stats. For those that didn't catch the entire game, Washington lost to Philadelphia 38-31. Hal was 39 of 52, 75% completion rate, which we'll take that all day long, for just short of 400 yards, 397, 4 TDs, 1 interception. The first half, he was 26 of 24. I mean, he was on fire the first half. From an offensive line perspective, they gave up 1 sack, and that was on what I'll call essentially the last series. We had the ball and scored a meaningless touchdown and junk time when we were down by 14 with a minute and a half to go, and they were playing prevent. But when the game was within reach to tie up the game, the last on that fourth down, there was a sack fumble that basically closed out that game. Um, and it kind of, as we start talking about this game, I wanted to go back and review my three key points of the game, and two out of three Washington did well with. Um, one was game plan for the rush. Washington did a lot of quick passes. Uh, they were throwing a lot of things out to the flat. They were hitting some quick shots as well as going downfield some, but they were mixing it up. And so I think there was a game plan for that pass rush. Um, while they did give Sam some heat, that's expected in the NFL, but he was able to manage it and overall do well. One of the other ones was uh, be better than average or better at third down efficiency, which is roughly 39-40% tends to be the average. Washington was 8 for 17 for a 47% um, third down efficiency. So they got better than that. Obviously, when the last series that I was referring to, those are key. When you don't get those are the ones that you remember. But they kept drives going throughout the game with their third down efficiency. The last one was don't give up big plays. With AJ Brown, it's hard not to give up some. But to me, the key big play that was given up was the blown coverage, and
To Devontae Smith, right?
Smith caught the touchdown with. I mean, he caught it and was like looking around, like, "Where is everybody?" And just kind of, he didn't even run. He just kind of almost skipped into the end zone for the final 8 to 10 yards. I think he was almost in disbelief on how open he was on that. So unfortunately, we did give up that big play there. I know there's some big catches by Brown, but I mean he's he's a beast to handle. We can definitely complain about some coverage and how they handled him on a couple of them, but he's a man amongst boys right now. The way he's playing, so I give a little bit of a pass on that.
Well, what AJ Brown has done to us for 2 games this season. Today's game was his 6th consecutive game where he had 125 plus yards.
Yep,
So again, it's not just
NFL record.
Washington that he's beating up on. But I will contend that although he had a great day, we didn't really give up a lot of the big plays to them. I mean, he worked for
Right,
them. What was a little surprising though is they had Devontae Smith was 1 yard shy of 100 yards. So collectively, man, you talk about, fans have been talking about how Washington has a wide receiver group and what we should be able to do and get production out of. Philly seems to do that. I mean, AJ Brown had 8 catches for a total 130 yards. Devontae Smith has 7 catches for 99 yards.
right,
So he's a yard shy of 100. So between the two of them, they had 15 catches for over 200 some yards. Right. So that's production out of the offense and out of your receiving core. And we don't do a good job of doing it. And I know there's countless reasons as to why that is, but we thought that was counted to production. Maybe not any one particular guy getting 120 yards, but you would think that between Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, that all those guys would get 4 or 5 catches, 70, 80 yards apiece. And at the end of the day, man, you spread the ball around and you don't know who to stop. But that's not how our offense works. And for some reason, it just doesn't work out that way. But I find it ironic though that everyone's been asking what Jahan Dotson is, and then lo and behold, he shows up.
right.
All right, lo and behold, he shows up. I'm looking at the stats here. Jahan Dotson led the team. He had 8 catches for 108 yards,
Yep.
followed by Jameson Crowder, 7 catches
Yeah.
and 95 yards, which was shocking, but I'm assuming he got some play because of Curtis Samuel going out.
Right.
And then Terry had 5 catches for 63. Um, but again, Jahan Dotson has a career day today against Philly in a losing effort.
Right.
Um, but overall, I mean, the team looked good, man. I don't know if the changes on the offensive line made a difference, or was it just simply we just play Philly tough and it's just this way. I want to see how that offensive line with the changes that we had on the O line today. And for those that may not be aware, they essentially benched Nick Gates, the center, the free agent center that we got from the New York Giants, and went with Tyler Larson, the veteran. And then the left guard, um, Sadiq Charles got injured last week, and so they started Chris Paul. So the interior of our O line was different today. And again, they gave it 1 sack. A little bit of pressure throughout the game, but for the most part, it looked nothing. Our offensive line looked about what we would have wanted our offensive line to look all year. But again, when we played Philly in week 4, not a lot of pressure. Offensive line seemed to hold up, give Sam some time. So I don't know if this is us playing Philly effect, or this is the turning of the old line going forward. I don't know. We'll wait to see next week. But overall, everybody, the offense played fine, and Eric Bieniemy called a pretty good game. I mean, some plays were executed as we saw with some pass from Sam to Terry and things of that nature. But overall, as I said, when we open this, the way this team played today is the way we expect this team to play every week. And we said this after week 4 when they played Philly in Philadelphia. We're like, man,
Right.
that's why we thought the Chicago game. Chicago had no chance after the way
Right.
we played Philly in week 4. So hell, I don't know. I don't know who's going to show up next week against New England, but nonetheless, good effort by the team, man. But I don't have enough confidence to know that this is a turning around of our team to start the upward trend of anything positive. Until I see it, to me, this was an isolated thing specifically against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. Some of the as I was watching the game, there's a couple things where I think I even mentioned I said I need to start taking notes, so I can recall certain plays or certain situations that led to us doing something good or led to like a stall drive as an example. Um, I'd mentioned, I don't know if it was on the podcast or uh, just us having a conversation about, we always talk about getting Terry involved. Well, I was like, let's get Jahan involved early as well. First 2 plays was one to Terry, one to Jahan. And while there was changes on the offensive line, I should say, you know, when you execute the plays efficiently, that that, that alone makes any coordinator look better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Correct.
if if Heineke last year would have been 24 for 26 in the first half of Scott Turner's offense, we would have been saying, Scott Turner, why aren't you calling a game like this every week? Now, I think that Bieniemy is much better offensive coordinator than Turner. Don't get me wrong, but when the team is efficient and running the game plan and not shooting themselves in the foot with false starts and holding and delay of games and things like that, your offense all of a sudden gets into a rhythm. And our first drive we didn't score, but we moved the ball some. The second drive we had a nice drive. Third drive we drove and scored again. It's like, okay, there's a rhythm here, and normally that isn't stopped. It doesn't just go cold. It can at times, but throughout the entire game, because of how the first quarter started out offensively, they maintained that throughout the entire game. And again, it goes to when I say fast start, it starts with a fast start of being efficient. It doesn't always lead to points, but there's an efficiency to it. There's a rhythm to it, and that's what they had this week. And to your point, we'll see if they're able to maintain this. If they are, they may. I'm not going to say turn the season around, but instead of being, here they're 3-5, they may go flip it around, be 5-3, but they could be 5-3 in their next 8 games and then finish up against Dallas, win or loss. I'm not saying that they will, but when you're playing like you are today, that gives you a chance, as you said, that gives you a chance every single game. And I don't think anybody would disagree that if we played like this, the last few weeks, we'd probably be at least 500 right now. We'd be 4-4, if not.
We'd be above 500.
That's what I'm
Way
saying.
above
At
500.
least minimum, right? We would have won one of the games against Chicago or the Giants. So, and maybe
The way
both.
the way this team has played against Philly over the past few weeks, you beat New York and you beat Chicago. I
I
believe
don't
that.
disagree.
But
Yeah.
they didn't play that way, and so you lost to them. But so offensively, is there anything else you want to say about offense? You want to talk about the defense?
Say that again.
I said any more on the offensive side of the ball that you want to talk about, or do you want to switch over
Um,
to the defense?
the only thing on offense that I would kind of that sticks out that jumps out is the last I'll say the last series that we all felt that the game was over when the fourth down went. Um, both Terry and Howell, I thought, did not do well on that play. Howell had an open Terry McLaurin on 2 shots, and both of them he threw the ball to where it was a challenging catch for Terry. Um, if you're telling me that on the next game, Terry gets back to back tough catches like he saw today, he's catching at least one of them, right? Maybe both of them. So, it wasn't right where it needed to be. It definitely needed to be a better pass. And considering we're talking about Terry and we're talking about the NFL, I would have thought that one of those would have been caught. And it is what it is, but it's from a Howell perspective, this is crunch time, right? And this is the first time where I would say we got to the end of the game like this and he wasn't accurate. It seems like a lot of times as the pressure built, man, he was cool as a cucumber and he was moving around and everything, stepping up into the pocket to get these throws was good, but just the pass wasn't accurate. And we'll see
Well,
how if that's something that continues in crunch time of him being accurate or not.
well, this is just a question that I know we won't know the answer to, but how much of the record pace of sacks that he has endured over the first few weeks played a role in him rushing through his read progression or even the throw? Because again, the second week in a row where he didn't make a good throw on fourth down to that were critical in the game.
Right.
Right, last week against the Giants. Again, the line, the defender made a great play, flushed him out of the pocket. He's running to the right, and it's a tough throw to make on the run
Right.
that he threw behind Jahan Dotson.
Right.
But again, the good ones find a way to make that happen. And
Right.
if you watched that Netflix special, The Quarterback, Patrick Mahomes makes those throws, but he practices that.
Right.
Again, if you watched it, he practiced making those unorthodox throws. So when it happens in the game, it's very natural.
Right.
So tough for Sam to make, natural for Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not saying that he's going to be Patrick Mahomes, but just the difference between off script plays. And then this game today against Philadelphia, again, one he threw to Terry and it was low. The other one that was what I consider the last drive in the game that would have that was the game tying drive. Um, Man, for the most part, he had a clean pocket, and Terry had settled down in the zone, and he threw it. If he throws it into Terry's numbers, he hits him dead in the chest.
Right.
But instead, he throws it behind Terry, and Terry's trying to reach back to make the catch, and it was a
Right.
difficult throw, an inaccurate throw by Sam, and a difficult attempt at catch by Terry. Um, was he rushing because it was fourth down and he didn't want to take a sack, so he rushed through the progression and the throw, and it ended up being not being accurate? We'll never know.
Right.
Um, but again, the game essentially ended, in my opinion, on what was essentially the first sack of the game. I mean, I know he did the intentional grounding to avoid a sack early in the game, but when that strip sack happened at the end of the game, that pretty much secured it with a little less than 2 minutes to go in the game. You know, it still happened, and it man for the offensive line. And I'm not going to be hard on the offensive line this game, but for them to go through the game for them giving Sam protection, that was the worst time for them to give a sack, and it can't. It's not lost on me that the one guy that allowed the sack is the guy that's been rated our worst offensive lineman, who, oh, by the way, happens to be our one of our key free agent signings, Wiley from Kansas City, which, oh, by the way, was brought by our new offensive coordinator. And he's not been good. And right on par, he gives up the game sealing sack, if you will, to Reddick. And that pretty much ended the game, ended the drive and our comeback attempt
Right. Right.
in this game, man. So very fitting in a bad way that Wiley gives up that sack, the one
Yeah.
sack in the game. So
Definitely, definitely. On the defensive side of the ball, I w- I need to go look. I didn't look. I don't know if even if the stat is out yet. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Um, Still not consistently enough of a pass rush from our front four. There's a few times where we flushed them out. Um, but I mean, there's no, everybody rushing it and meeting at the quarterback, and he has nowhere to go and goes. I mean, as a matter of fact, I think a lot of Smith's yardage seemed to be when Hertz had way too much time, way too much time, way too much time, and all of a sudden it seemed like it went to Smith several times. It was like you can cover him for a certain amount of time, but after a point, Smith was able to get open, and he was the one that, in those situations, that Hertz was finding.
right.
And I, I, do we want to put the blame on the front four? Do we want to put it on Del Rio for never blitzing or seldom blitzing? I thought there was a few opportunities late in the game where it was I don't recall. I think it was like 2nd and 8 or something like that. One of their it was in the fourth quarter, later in the fourth quarter, and I was like, man, that's a great time to blitz. You haven't blitzed all game, man. Just send it, and that way the backs only need to cover for a second and a half to 2 seconds. And up, he had time, and got it out to the tight end, and it was it was a first down, and they kept the drive going. Um, Again, I'm not able to look at the tape for the full 22, but what I see on TV, Jack doesn't surprise anybody. The
No,
I
he
don't want to
doesn't.
call it
But he
vanilla
blitzed
because
though. He
I don't want
blitzed
to
a
call
few
it
times
vanilla.
during the game.
What's that?
He blitzed a few times during the game. It's just that I suspect with anything, if you do it enough times, you get pretty good at it. We
Yeah.
don't blitz enough, and so our guys aren't very good at blitzing. But he called a few blitzes. They
No,
just
there was some.
they
I'm interested in how many there was throughout the game.
yeah. Philadelphia just picked him up, and Jalen Hurts is a mobile enough quarterback that even when it came through, he was able to move around and extend plays.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, what was interesting to me is I think Deron Payne had 2 tackles Jonathan Allen had 1 tackle. Chase Young had 1 tackle. Montez Sweat had 5 tackles, 3 solo, 1 sack, and a tackle for loss. And David Mayo, playing in place of Cody Barton, led the team in tackle with 9 total tackles. But if I repeat those numbers again, Deron Payne had 2, John Allen had 1, Chase Young had 1, and Montez Sweat had 5, right? So again, you're not getting tackles, you're not getting pressures, you're not getting any of the type of disruption that we would expect our defense to do.
Right.
I think we all realize that. I'm not gonna say realize. I think we all have the expectations that the team is gonna look a little bit different on the defensive line next week. Because the expectation is one of those guys is going to get traded. And it wouldn't surprise me if neither one gets traded. But the speculation is that one of them will get traded. We don't know which one it is. But they didn't have a great game. I mean, at the end of the day, this defense once again gave up 38 points.
Yep.
Right? If this defense is half as good as we expected them to be, you don't give up 38 points to Philadelphia. You don't give up 34 points to Philadelphia. You scored 31 in both games, and you probably win both of those games. Right. You scored 31 points. I'd be willing to bet that the percentage is very high that you win those games. Not us, right? We got this vaulted front four that everyone talks about, and we gave up 38 points to the Eagles today.
Well, you've given up 30 plus points 5 out of 8 weeks.
Yeah, not gonna get it done. And when the offense scores 31, I like our chances to win.
Absolutely, I agree.
Right. We did see Forbes get some snaps. I don't know what his snap count was. We talked about it at the bar as we watched the game amongst ourselves and some people around us. I'm not ready to jump off the Forbes bandwagon. But I will say there's some things to be concerned. Right. I know there's some growing pains as a young rookie. And I think outside of quarterback, cornerback might be one of the hardest positions to adjust to when you come into the NFL.
Right.
And he's getting baptized by fire, man. And it's not going to get any easier for him. But the thing that's getting me is he's making mistakes that I would think that he would have the football intelligence to be able to compete at this level. Right? Getting burned is just part of it as a corner. Getting burned by veteran wideouts who are just savvy. Right? He's playing you against yourself. I get all of that. But like that beautiful touchdown catch that we talked about it during the game that AJ Brown made between 2 defenders. It was Forbes and Quan Martin. You can see the play develop. Forbes let AJ Brown get behind him because he knew he had safety help over the top. Jalen Hurts throws the ball into double coverage. Quan Martin and Manuel Forbes are both playing in the same position, which was behind AJ Brown. Forbes was supposed to have coverage underneath. He should be between the ball, the quarterback, and AJ Brown, but instead he runs past AJ Brown.
Right.
And he bumps Quan Martin. So the both of them are bumping into each other while AJ Brown is making a highlight reel catch in double coverage. And it's going to be on SportsCenter. I've never even played ball collegiately, and even I know, hell, with safety help, you need to stay underneath.
Right.
And that's a rookie mistake, man. That's a very rookie. That's not even a rookie mistake. That's a mistake that is like, why would you even do that? So I'll just give my little 2 cents that I said when we were talking about it. I said I think he's going to self-correct. At least I hope he does. He will self-evaluate himself, and he will get to work not only watching himself in the film, tape, and in the off season. But if he comes back in year 2 making some of these kind of mistakes, then I think, man, we make the wrong pick. But at this point, hey, this is just part of welcome to the NFL, and he's going to have to learn, man. He's going to put his pride down and learn. But that was very discouraging to watch him still continue to get beat the way he did with AJ Brown today in the few snaps that we did. And the funny thing is, the only way we knew he was playing because he was getting beat,
Right. Right.
right? Because when they
And
went back and showed the replay, you're
right.
like, oh, who's covering? Oh, that was Forbes on that.
Well, I think what I'm seeing, throughout this season, and I'll say the first week or two, it didn't seem like it was as much, but I'm seeing it more so because the league watches tape and the league learns people's weaknesses and attacks them. And the knock on Forbes when he was drafted was his size and strength, right? He's,
And he
you
was
know,
aggressive.
what's that?
And he was an aggressive corner, which means
But,
he's
but
which means he's gonna that translates to me he's a
yes,
gambler.
correct. But I think where I see him getting beat more is anytime he's got to be physical, right? If he can cut in front of somebody, he does okay. But if he's got to go up with somebody, if he's got to, body somebody I'll just say some of the plays, especially when you're talking about somebody like AJ Brown, it's like going up for a rebound. You know, AJ goes up and Forbes doesn't have a chance. I said it during the game at the bar. It's a man against a boy there, and even if he didn't catch it, you just see the way that Brown moves to the ball and Forbes is trying to, I don't know, kind of flail and he's trying to cover, but
Right.
he doesn't have the power to deal
The
with
strength.
something like that.
The strength.
And just body size, right? I mean, there's a matter of fact, ours, I guarantee you, I don't even have to look it up. Both of our kickers are bigger and way more than Forbes, who's covering a lot of number one wide receivers out there. And whether it's on the line getting physical or on the ball, trying to get physical with somebody, not with pass interference, but just body jockeying to get to the ball. He's losing every single time.
Well,
And
I could live with the fact that if he was making the right reads in position to make the play, and it just came down to strength. But that's not what's happening, right? The fact that you talk about his weight, his strength, that's already there. He can't change that right now.
correct.
But then when you compound it with being out of position, making the wrong reads, and you gambling, it makes it worse. Because again, if he was in the right position to make the play and he just went up against a guy like AJ Brown, because AJ Brown is just stronger, hey man, you tip your hat to it and you just say, I'll get in the weight room this offseason. But the weight thing's not going to change right now. So you at least got to be intelligent and smart as you're going through and as you're playing the game. He's not even doing that. And that's the part that concerns me. We've always talked about his weight. And for some people said it's not a big deal. Okay, it's not a big deal. You tell me it's not a problem, it's not a problem. But he can get in the weight room this off season and change that a little bit, right? But he could bulk up.
He
But if
can
he's
go from
still in the wrong, but if
he
he's
can go
still in
from
the
a num-
wrong
he can go
position,
from a
he's in the
number two
wrong
pencil.
position.
He can go from a number two pencil to a number three pencil. I
It
mean,
doesn't
I
matter.
think I think his body size, I think his body structure is for him to get truly thicker and stronger. It's not happening in an off season. Not not
I'm
not
not.
by not
I'm not
by
worried about
legal
that.
NFL rules. Let me go there.
I'm not worried. I'll be honest. I'm not worried about his weight. Um, because
It's more
again,
strength.
you,
Yeah.
you take that play where AJ Brown scored over him. If he's in position where he's supposed to be, that's probably an interception. At worst, it's a deflection. At best, that's an interception. And people are questioning why did Hurts throw that ball to double coverage, but instead he gets out of position and it's a completion and it's a highlight reel, and now everyone's saying that AJ Brown lost it.
Well,
That's the
well,
difference, right?
well, I'm not talking about so much that play. I'm talking about the idea of getting on the line and doing a hand check to somebody. Let's say Del Rio dials up you know a 6-man blitz, right? He's blitzing two people, and you got to him at the line and hold him for the 5 or 7 yard gain. he's not hand checking anybody, and so it changes what you can do with the guy, and if you're missing on coverage and you're biting on certain moves, to your point of him being aggressive. And I think at this point, not only is he aggressive at times, but he's also a little bit timid because he's gotten burned. He's a little bit extra careful, especially when you're going up against somebody like Brown. Um,
Yes.
and I agree. I'm not saying that he's a bust, but there's things that I'm concerned about, definitely strongly concerned about after half a season, year one. Because I don't. It'd be different if I see him making plays as well as having some struggles. And I'm not seeing the plays. It seems like I see more of the bad plays than him making a play or having somebody locked down or anything like that. So time will tell.
But some of
Time will tell.
that is technique though, right? To use an example you made, if he's having to play press corner because we're getting ready to blitz, then you redirect the receiver, you use the sideline as your second defender, and you do some things. Again,
Sure.
that's technique, right? That's just technique. And but if he's got to go up and just try to jam a big receiver at the line of scrimmage, you're right, he'll probably lose. So you don't go up and try to fight that guy. You try to redirect him and you use your sideline as your help or something of that nature. You don't let him cross your face and do a slant on you and beat you at the line. I mean, they're just things you can do. But right now, he's making mistakes that seems to be, in my opinion, that he shouldn't be making at this level. You've got to be in position to do some things.
I
All of
agree.
the other stuff, all the other things will come. You hone your technique, you hone your skill. But man, he's out of place. He's not tackling. I mean, we've seen some things that got him benched. And yeah, I do agree that I think he's a little bit timid, especially playing AJ Brown. He played way off early in the game when he was playing off so far that AJ Brown ran a stop and turned around. Forbes made the tackle, but man, it was an easy pitch and catch because Forbes was worried about AJ going deep, and AJ just stopped the route, turned around, and boom, there's a catch for a huge gain.
And anybody who remembers that play and was watching it live, when you saw it was Forbes that had to make the tackle, you can't tell me you didn't have a moment of concern if you realized it was Forbes trying to make the tackle. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so
But we'll see, man. We'll see.
yeah, yeah,
3-5. I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm more interested in what's going to happen between now and Tuesday at this point, and we'll see what happens. I don't think if there's anything that happens with Washington, I don't think we're buyers. I think we'd be sellers at this point,
yeah.
and that may just involve one player, for all I know. But I
Right,
don't
right.
think we're going to be bringing addition players as much as we'll be trading away a player and maybe getting some draft picks or something.
Yeah. Do you want to go on the record and make a prediction, a bold prediction on anybody getting traded? Do you feel a bold prediction in your back pocket there, Reg?
I don't have any bold prediction, but but if you want me to make one, I'm going to say that nobody gets traded.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. Um, I know people speculated that losing would speed the clock up for the potential or speed up the negotiations and the clock on getting something done. I don't necessarily think that that's the case. I mean, Ron hasn't done it yet since he's been here. I know having Sweat and Young in the free agency is a different dynamic that he hasn't had in the past. But I don't see it happening. But we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see.
I don't think either guy. That's my bold prediction. I don't think either one gets traded. I
Yeah,
understand the speculation. I don't doubt the teams are calling. There's probably even some discussions being had, but at the end of the day, I don't think Ron and Martin Mayhew is ready to let these guys walk the pennies on the dollar, and I just don't think they're going to do it.
yeah. We'll give a shout out to Joey Sly. At the end of the first half, kicked a 56-yard field goal, but there was a penalty and moved it back to
61, I
from
think.
56 to 61. And he said, "Man, if you thought 51 or 56 looked good, I'll show you what 61 looked like. And he had, I mean, it was closer to dead center, and he had another 5 or 6 yards on that kick.
Yeah.
So I know Sly's had a little bit of a struggle here and there, but today got to give him credit for what he did. So
He
didn't
did.
want
He
to
did.
didn't want to pass up and not give Joey Sly a little credit there. But
Agreed. Agreed.
you got anything else, my man?
I don't, man. I don't.
Okay.
It's a good
Well,
recap.
yeah. Well, we will end up. We'll see what happens on Tuesday, and we'll have a discussion on whatever happens or doesn't happen, as well as a preview of the New England Patriots. And we'll be talking to you all as always. You know where to hit us. You catch us on Twitter at DA Two Knuckleheads at Twitter. And until next time, peace out, Knuckleheads.
Peace out, y'all.